Hello, this is Mark. This session is part of a series I've made called Sleep with Mark. If you ever want more, you can just search for that name. You'll find the rest is waiting. Waiting in the same way that sleep often waits. Quietly, patiently, just outside the edges of thought. And this particular time that you've set aside may already be beginning to shift something, because some part of you may already be familiar with this feeling. This softening around the edges, like the way twilight gradually replaces detail with haze, and you can begin to settle more deeply into this slower kind of rhythm. And there may have been a lot today, thoughts passing through, shifting roles, different rhythms, conversations that shape the hours and all of that. It may simply have flowed as part of how the day unfolded. And now, as the evening begins to deepen, you can begin to sense the quiet rhythm already arriving beneath it all. And night often carries its own kind of pace, slower, wider, quieter, almost like the sky itself might begin to fold gently around you now. You can sense how the pace of everything has already changed, and some part of you, perhaps the one that stayed attuned to all the signals of the day, that part of you can begin to listen more gently now, like sensing the hush between soft sounds, or the way the evening air might begin to settle against the edges of your awareness. Perhaps this part of the evening can already feel like it belongs to something quieter, a space that belongs only to stillness, where just presence is enough. And you can continue to rest into the quiet that follows you, a quiet that may carry the softness of the evening air, or the ease that comes when everything is already complete for now. And here, in whatever position suits you best, in whatever space holds you just enough, you can begin to notice the quiet sense of arrival already forming. And you might already be settled just enough for something even quieter. And beneath the surface of everything this day has carried through, perhaps the air in the room has already started to change, subtle in its own way, as if it's responding to the quietness that's beginning to gather. Cooler, maybe, or warmer, or simply more still. And if you listen with the kind of attention that rests more in sensation than in sound, then you might begin to notice the presence of that stillness and how it gathers softly around you. And there could be distant sounds or nearby ones, or a kind of hush that stretches like fabric across the whole room, each one simply part of the shape of this moment. And you can sense your body adjusting in small ways, the way a boat settles when it finds calm water. A shift of weight here, a change of shape there, small permissions that echo gently through the muscles, like ripples across still water. And breath, familiar on its own. And the breath might begin to move in a way that feels new tonight. You can notice the way the breath touches the inside of the nose. On the way in and on the way out. Slower or more rounded, or simply more noticeable. And you might notice a few soft flickers passing through awareness, like wings brushing the edge of your attention, and some may drift briefly across awareness, like leaves caught in a breeze, as the quiet regathers itself, like birds circling a branch before drifting somewhere quieter. And some moments may simply drift without any pace at all, a pace that's shaped only by softness. And you can begin to sense your whole body settling below the surface of the day, as though rest knows exactly where to meet you. Perhaps the day is already drifting further, like footsteps moving down a hallway, how they grow quieter with each pause, and something else, something slower, deeper, more still. You can begin to sense the presence of the arriving now, like a tide returning to shore, soft rhythm shaped by presence, drawn more from quiet than from thought, a gentle settling that belongs here right now, where you can simply begin to arrive again and again. And now, in the softness that has begun to arrive, you can just notice your awareness resting a little closer to the quiet within. Everything in you may be arriving, still at its own pace. Some parts of you really sensing the quiet, and the shape of your arms, resting along your sides like warm, folded blankets, or the gentle weight of fabric across your legs, pressing in subtle, familiar ways. And even deeper than that, you can sense the contact beneath you, the places where your back meets the surface, and the surface may feel like it welcomes your weight in its own quiet kind of way. And there's something very reassuring about that, being supported in a way that invites everything just to settle even more. And you can notice your shoulder blades easing further, as if gravity has just remembered them, or your hands, perhaps already settling into a kind of quiet, with fingers naturally curved, like petals closing at dusk. And somewhere within all of this, your breath continues, and you can notice how gently it moves through, as if each breath is shaping in its own way, quietly, and you can listen to what's already unfolding there, and you can notice the inhale, how it moves gently through the ribs, spreading that space just a little wider, and then softening again as the breath returns through the ribs once more. And some people describe the breath as moving like a wide ribbon flowing through the body in waves that stretch and return. And others can describe the breath as a thread of warm air uncoiling with each exhale, with a pace that may seem to stretch even further each time, and a quietness that follows more easily with each breath. And you can sense the breath in the back of your throat or the chest or around the belly, where the breath can soften the space from within, and the breath may be passing through different rooms of the same house, each one exhaling at its own pace. And you can begin to sense how all of them belong to the same quiet rhythm. And if there's a place in your body that's drawn more attention during this time, you can simply be the part that listens most deeply, or the place where quiet just kind of continues to arrive in its own way, and you can allow that part to settle in resting on moving water, held and carried. And the pace of this moment may already feel even slower, as if something in the breath knows how to guide things here. And you can notice how easily that rhythm continues to meet you now, and how that rhythm can settle more, and you can allow the whole body to rest more deeply into that quiet. You can begin to notice the way that stillness continues to grow from the center outward, like light fading gently across the surface of a pond. And you might notice how warmth sometimes begins in the smallest places, and how it can spread across the skin. You may notice each breath as if the breath already belongs to the night, and how it just welcomes you fully and completely. And as this night continues, you may notice a deeper part beginning to respond, the way that a forest hushes beneath falling snow, an even quieter kind of movement. And you might begin to notice it somewhere inside, a softer kind of attention, and you can allow that to begin spreading now even more, and you can sense your awareness moving further inward, as though it follows the shape of quiet. Just notice how easily it can shift when everything begins to slow. And some people can describe a fog rolling in, one soft veil at a time, and you may notice how it muffles the edges, how it blurs the outlines, like shapes in the distance, becoming gentler now. And others describe the sky deepening in colour, and you might notice how light begins to slip from blue to slate to velvet, or you might notice mist across a hillside spilling gently downward, just sensing how it can fill the spaces between words. And somewhere beneath all of that, you might begin to sense a spiral forming, winding inward, as though each breath carries you further along a quiet and downward path. You may find that numbers arrive gently, like footprints on soft earth, and 10, you might notice something as though the whole back can rest more deeply into stillness. And 8. Perhaps you notice thoughts beginning to drift even further out, like far-away voices across a wide lake. 7. Perhaps you can notice a new weight in your limbs now, as the whole body can settle more deeply. 6. Perhaps you notice your breath softening even more, like how wind can ease across long grasses. And 5. And perhaps you begin to notice the pauses between thoughts widening even further now, like space unfolding around you. And 4. You might sense yourself just being gently carried, as if something deeper has already begun, like a rhythm, to move through you. 3. Perhaps you notice a gentle hum of rest now, as if something quiet is tuning itself beneath everything else. And 2. You may notice one part of you still a little aware, while another part may already be drifting further inward and taking every other part with you. And 1. You can just sense something deeper, and you can relax deeper, like the hush that follows a final turning of the page. And of course, you may simply allow these images and rhythms to settle in their own way, however they move, or pause, or return. And they're just here like soft shapes in twilight, and you can just welcome whatever feels the most restful right now. And yet, even so, you might notice how your awareness can continue to move even further inward, like a tide, slowly drawing back, leaving space where the body may settle even more deeply, and you can really notice that now. And sometimes the body can rest in ways that feel deeply familiar, even before anything else is noticed. And thoughts can echo more softly now, like sounds across a wide open space. And sometimes those echoes may simply fade into the background, like distant wind through leaves, or like a lantern swinging slowly at the end of a long corridor, where the quietness can begin to gather around you even more, and where your attention each breath a doorway, each pause a step that can lead you deeper into the quiet place within the quiet, where thought can become shadow and sensation can become song, and sleep may already be beginning, as more than an ending, as a further journey, and that some part of you may already be walking, and there may be a part of you that's been moving through many moments previously, and now responding gently to thoughts as they came, and how you had noticed details, sensing what might matter, and offering your presence again, almost like a train that has moved through many stations today, each one having held something important, each one having passed through with quiet precision. And now, perhaps this part of the journey can begin to slow even more as the surroundings grow quieter and the rhythm of the journey begins to change even further. You might still sense a gentle motion, just softer now, as if the wheels hum at a slower pace, while the world outside can begin to dim even more. You might notice how the light inside feels warmer, more golden, as though the carriage itself has grown quieter too, and some windows can now reflect only shadow. Some scenes may fade into blur, and somewhere inside that you can begin to rest more deeply into the journey itself, and quietness may already be guiding that journey, everything unfolding just at the right pace for this moment, as if the tracks beneath you know exactly how to carry you more inward, and you can move more inward with that. And perhaps you can sense something quieter even more on the inside, as if something is softening even further, as if the engine itself is easing into calm. And some people can describe this as kind of like a moment when everything softens at its own kind of pace, as if the whole train begins to settle, like the sound of wheels coasting a hum beneath silence, and a kind of hush may be moving gently through the carriages. You can notice how the mind softens as it settles into this even quieter pace, Each compartment around you is offering more space, more room to breathe. Even the conductors can seem to settle now, their work complete for the evening, while the hush continues to move gently through the carriages, carried along by the softness of the rhythm of the wheels. And you might find your breath moving in time with something softer now, slow, continuous, like the way a train rocks gently as it comes to stillness. And if there's any part of your mind that's still quietly scanning the horizon, that part might simply sense how the track curves into a gentle rest. And sometimes the tracks don't end so much as dissolve into a hush, where motion can become rest, and you can picture a quiet station at night, a single lantern glowing softly on the platform. Shadows can stretch out across warm stone, the air holding a hush, deep and still, just space, and stillness that welcomes you further. And some part of you may already be stepping off the train now, feeling soft against the boards, feeling the air cooler, quieter, that nighttime kind of air, somehow more your own. And you may have left the train behind now, its doors resting open in the hush of the evening, and something in the stillness can let the engine sigh and then sleep, and you might begin to settle even further into this space between movement and stillness, like resting inside a moment that gently holds you, as the quiet stretches warmly in every direction. And some thoughts may still be nearby, and that's perfectly okay, and they can simply rest for a while, set gently to one side, as the night air continues to soften everything around them. And perhaps there's a bench nearby, not just any bench, but one that's shaped by kindness, smoothed by time and stillness, where rest has gathered again and again, where you can let the weight of the day dissolve into hush that surrounds it. And this bench may have welcomed many before you, people who paused in this kind of quiet, drawn by a softness that only certain evenings bring. And just like them, you can feel the weight of the day soften even further now, and you might allow your body to settle more deeply here, as though the wood beneath you knows how to support what's already at rest and ready to rest. And maybe the air here a scent that just simply seems to say that this place has been waiting for quiet like yours. And there may be a clock above, but the hands can seem slower here, each moment stretched, more spacious, more generous, like time has remembered how to offer rest. And you may glance up and sense that time doesn't ask anything, because the night can carry its own kind of knowing, its own kind of tempo. And perhaps there's a quiet permission just to simply be, and that permission is already within you, and you can begin to rest more deeply into this moment now, as the day continues on its way, like a train pulling gently out of sight, its lights softening, disappearing slowly behind the trees. And from here, perhaps you begin to sense a path unfolding through the night, a gentle curve softly held by the quiet of evening air, and the ground beneath can feel steady, and the space around it kind, and some part of you may already feel drawn downward to that quiet rhythm, as if this path was made for your quiet steps, with those in mind. And some people can describe this path as softly lit by lanterns, each one glowing with a warm and steady light, spaced in a way that can bring more comfort. And you may just notice how each glow seems to welcome your next step. And other people can describe it like walking beneath a canopy of trees, and their leaves gently sheltering the quiet above, while deep roots below offer a soft and steady hum. And you can feel the calm of that grounded quietness and pace begin to reach you too. And with each step on this path, you might sense the evening gathering even more fully, as though the day itself is laying down to rest, releasing its brightness into the arms of the night. And perhaps there's a sense that even enough has happened for today. The thoughts that came may have found their place, and the plans may already be resting in their own quiet shape. And now, this quieter part of you, it may be the one that's continuing forwards, along a path that welcomes thoughtful minds, and hands that have already begun to rest. And you can sense the ground shifting beneath you, from the firmness of platform to the scattered hush of gravel, to the familiar living quiet of At some point, you may arrive at a place where stillness continues to carry further. Each breath can feel like a step already taken, where presence can begin to feel like rest, where the sense of forwardness may shift gently downward, where moments widen and time can begin to feel more like space, and you can feel your body resting here in a wide clearing beneath the sky, surrounded on all sides by stillness that feels quiet and kind. The hush of trees, and the breath of wind, and the quiet presence surrounding you. There may be a sense that everything from before has found its own place to rest, and what remains with you now can be held gently in this peaceful moment, and you can allow this moment to widen now, the way a still lake might widen when the night deepens around it. Quiet, expansive, holding everything it touches in calm, and you may notice how the space around you can feel complete, already shaped for rest, and something in you may soften even more deeply into that invitation. A quiet rhythm, deepening, that may be moving through this moment with the gentleness of breath and the hush of early fog along the ground, and just as steady, and you might notice a soft hum beneath thought, like a current just beneath the surface, gently carrying your awareness even more inward, and you can feel the back of your body settle further into stillness, the way that a pebble settles deeper in sand after each soft returning wave, and your shoulders, those careful listeners, might begin to rest even more fully into the surface below, as though they too have heard that it's safe to let go here. You may sense the breath settling in its own way now, as though something familiar is returning, something long held in the quiet spaces within you, and you can feel each exhale now as a kind of echo, shaped by rest itself. You can sense the spaces between breaths growing wider, as if they're floating further apart, like leaves on a quiet stream. Thoughts can simply drift by, like stars in the night sky, quiet, distant, gentle. observed from below, and beneath those stars, somewhere deeper than thought, a stillness can continue to open, gently drawing you even more inward, like the night falling over a quiet field. And this may be a moment that welcomes your breath even more and receives your whole being with quiet ease. You may feel the whole body softening now in more familiar ways, while the mind flows gently beyond the words. And there may be images, shapes, half sounds, half dreams, and each one can drift gently across awareness, like wind moving through soft curtains. Even the breath itself might feel like a breeze now, spacious and light, and time more like open sky, wide, quietly stretching all around you. And sleep, that quiet companion, may already be near, softening the edges even more. And you may just allow everything to be welcomed, and sleep can arrive in those soft pauses between awareness, like something natural, just returning in its own time. And you may already be close now, as the body can feel more fully received by something quieter than thought. And the edges of awareness, those gentle outlines, can soften even more deeply. And that's right, as if the shape of you is becoming part of the shape of sleep itself. Thoughts may be trailing off even more, like echoes of the edge of awareness. And what remains is simply this, only this drift, this slowing, and this gentle deepening into quiet even more. And some part of you may already be really immersed into something deeper than words, quieter than images, more spacious than this voice. And sleep knows how to meet you there. And sleep knows. And even now, you can allow something deeper to begin holding you, like a quiet place that receives the whole